And then just on the button on there, when you're ready.
Okay.
Check. Yep.
Okay. Wait, this button is kind of high.
It looks like it's hot. Yep.
Okay.
Yeah, otherwise it'll be all red.
Okay. All right, good evening. Today is Wednesday, September 4th, 2024. It's 6 o'clock p.m. And this is Board of Zoning Appeals public meeting and hearing. Tonight we have two applications on the agenda. And the first is project number 0591 for 804 Central Avenue. It's area variance applications 186 and area variance number 188. And it's to allow for a 125.85 square foot freestanding sign where the maximum permitted is 64 square feet, and to allow for a 16.4 feet tall freestanding sign where the maximum permitted is 8 feet. Is the applicant here? Yes, hi, are you the applicant?
Adirondack Sign Company.
Great.
Representing Vive Collision. I want to make a correction to the application for one thing. You said 125 square feet, right?
For the size of the sign?
For the size of the sign. I guess it all depends on how you look at it. If we're taking the size of the lettering on this background, it's only 68 square feet. It's not 125 square feet.
Okay.
If you take a rectangle and go from top to bottom on the sign, including the skirt, then you get 125 square feet. But if you take the logo on the top with the Vive Collision and the LED board, you're only at 68 square feet, which is only 4 square feet over what is allowed. So that's not such a huge variation between the two.
Okay.
So I want to, but I guess it all depends on how you look at it. I don't assume when you do square footage for all the other signs, you include the skirt and the base part of it. I'm assuming it's just the sign part itself that's on the background.
I will let the expert.
Yeah. So for, we're working on making that more clear in the code as it's currently written. It's kind of vague, but the way we've historically done it is for the freestanding signs, we've looked at the entire structure as the square footage. So other applications that have come forward have had used the 125 figure as their square footage.
So how does that, so if this sign had 2 poles going up and started at the base of the LED display, then how would you still calculate the blank space underneath it?
No, it would just be the area that the area where you could put signage on the sign, essentially.
Okay, could you mind if I step up to this thing and point out? Okay. So
yeah, that's fine. And after you'd like to introduce yourself?
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm Adam from Adirondack Sign Company.
Okay.
Representing Vive Collision.
Okay. Hi.
So, do you mind?
Yes.
Okay. So, if this here is the 68 square feet that I'm talking about. From here down, we typically consider that the skirt. So this had 2 poles and this was open, like what's it called there? The other view has the Speedway sign under there. If this had 2 poles and came up here, would that change the square footage, or would that also be considered the square footage?
That would change the square footage.
That would change the square
So
footage.
you would subtract whatever
What
area.
if the skirt and the pole came up like this?
So you couldn't have a single pole in the middle because that'd be defined as a pole sign, which aren't allowed. So it has to have a full base like that, or two poles so that it's a post and panel.
Then it has to have 2 poles, basically. Okay, no problem. I was looking at it today and going over it before I came, and that's one thing I noticed. Okay, So that explains why. The staff in City Hall was very helpful in getting this through and stuff like that. But basically, what
And Adam, if you'd like to take a seat, if you're able to.
I'm sorry.
No.
I've been running around all day drinking coffee, so bear with me.
If you want to stand, whatever you're comfortable with.
Okay. All right. So basically what we're looking to do is we're looking to reduce the amount of signage that's on the property from 2 signs to 1 sign. 1 sign is going to go from over 22 feet down to 18 feet, or 16 feet, excuse me. That's the one proposed. The one on the north side, we're going to eliminate that completely. I did provide a ton of pictures and measurements of all of the signs within the vicinity, going up and down, and just about everything in that area is well above code and far larger than what we're asking for. For example, from Speedway to Denoyer, they're up and down, CVS.
It looks like the street has a 808 Central Ave. This is match your understanding.
Yes,
on the board.
exactly. Okay, so we have the Speedway, which is far larger, the CVS. The Kia is literally 2 buildings down, and that's very similar design into what the Vive is, and that's much bigger. And the DePaula ones are, they're extremely high and they're extremely large. Those are pretty accurate measurements. I did measure those with a special tool we have, a laser measuring tool. So those are probably within an inch, of size. So they're very accurate. Okay. And there's another view of everything, and as you can see, everything there is quite large in that area. We feel that if we put something low to the ground and much smaller, it's going to get lost in that corridor. This is a brand new business. These people do a great job. They just want to showcase what they do, and they don't want to get lost in that corridor. That's pretty busy there with every road coming around, around.
And that's, so we have, there's 5 factors that we consider for area variance requests, and some of this was indicated on your application.
Mm-hmm.
We look at the character of the neighborhood, alternatives considered, substantiality, impact on the environment, and unnecessary hardship. And so you spoke a bit about the character of the neighborhood, that there's other properties on Central Ave that have signs that are comparable or larger. That it looks like Anna has pulled it up. Would you like to read from this or move on to the next factor?
Character of the neighborhood, we feel that it fits, what we're proposing fits in with the character of the neighborhood. If we propose something smaller, like I said, again, we feel it's going to get lost.
Okay.
Alternative consideration, yes, we did look, the original plan was to use the entire structure and do that. We reduced it down quite a bit from what it originally was. That was a consideration, but we felt that this was a good compromise from what is allowed to what ideally they wanted. Obviously they want something as large as possible and as noticeable as possible. But this, we felt, was a pretty good compromise in between the two. So that was our consideration for that. And obviously reducing down to 1 sign versus 2. There was no need for 2 signs. Yeah, and like I said, we were reducing the amount of signage height. The proposed is quite a bit smaller than what is currently there and then what is currently in the neighborhood. That was the compromise versus going with a full-size one.
So that's accurate. The square footage for your sign represents a 33% decrease from the existing sign area, and the height represents a 26% decrease from the existing sign.
Correct.
Okay. Just trying to get our record.
Yeah, no, bear with me. What's it called there? I do a ton of meetings, but not usually the variance ones.
Oh, good.
Okay, impact. We felt that it wasn't going to impact the neighborhood, any threat to any public safety, any health, any welfare. Like I said, the sign is smaller than what was already there. We're just replacing existing signs with new, modern, and updated stuff. Okay. Self-created. The tenant leased the premises. The existing tenant had signage over the allowable height and size. The new tenant looking to replace the sign with a smaller one due to the size of most of the exiting signage along Central Ave. The new tenant still has attempted to keep their signage down in comparison in size. Like I said, that's more of what we're saying.
Okay. Great. Yeah. Are there other like images on the PowerPoint?
There were the ones we've already seen.
Okay.
Existing and proposed, and the area signage. And then just the project location.
I'll open it up to board. Oh, is there anything else that you would like to say at this time?
Not at the moment.
Okay. So the board questions.
Did you conduct a traffic study for this sign? And if not, why not?
We did not. We didn't feel it was necessary yet to do that.
Is that due to the pre-existing sign?
The pre-existing sign, reducing the amount of signage, reducing the size, the height.
So to that end, I have a question.
Sure.
So in what you, I believe, called this skirt, what's below the digital panel, correct?
Mm-hmm.
Are there like electronic elements in that skirt, or is that portion essentially like, so to the traffic question, I was sort of wondering, because we were talking about like, oh, could you reduce the area of the sign by like hollowing out essentially the part under it? And I was thinking about that from a visibility and traffic standpoint on Central Ave, so that's why I was just asking.
It's definitely a possibility. Yeah, absolutely. But there's nothing underneath the digital display. It's just blank space, just no different than the Kia sign on 2 buildings up.
I understand, like, I appreciate the decrease in size, and I can recognize how some people might be amenable more to the sort of like tablet versus, with the section hollowed out under it, but I was just curious if there was a specific need for the skirt portion.
The skirt portion actually, I think, makes it look a lot cleaner.
Yeah.
The original plan was you had 2 poles that, looking at the codes and stuff like that. This is a really clean look. They run a really clean operation, and this fits very well with their branding. The Vive letters and the V logo on top would be polished stainless with a blue halo. It's a very clean, modern look. Feels very good, in that area with the other dealerships there. I think it would be a good accent to what is already going on up there. This is this is a high-end body shop. This is not just some shop down the street. These guys are very good at what they do. They have locations all over, in many different states. It represents their brand very well, this design right here. And also looking to this as a showcase of their Vive collision here in the Capital District. This is going to be their flagship store. Yes, and here is the square footage change reduction going from 22.3 down to 16.4 area. The original sign is 188 square feet. That does not include the skirt that is below that sign. So that is actually even more reduction than that. Because when we figured it in, I only figured in the actual sign cabinets that are on that existing structure. So that sign area is larger if I do the math the way you were explaining to me.
What's the width of it again?
The width of that sign is 92 inches. And the overall height is 16 feet. Same location, no change in, location where the sign is. So it's less we're kind of disturbing the ground. If we do something different, we're gonna have to disturb it over there. If we do what we're proposing, it's less we have to disturb in the parking lot, in the grassy area. Obviously, we wouldn't disturb the sidewalk.
This is more a question for staff. What's like the setback between this and the the destination Nissan sign? That's also like a full.
I believe it's less than, I think it's less than 500 feet.
Stated another way, like, is this sign closer to the road than the destination Nissan sign?
Oh, the setback from the road itself? I think they're about, I don't know exactly, but they're pretty much in line.
Yeah, I believe you're correct. Let me pull up my notes here.
Okay.
Yeah, a lot of the.
It's pretty close.
On that part.
The Kia sign, it's right in line with the Kia sign, the one that's the big monument there.
Okay. I was only asking because since it is flush all the way through to the ground, while some of the other signs, I don't know if that obstructs like vision.
Well, if you'll be heading south, so it's not gonna, if you're in the road, it's not gonna be obstructing vision at all. No. Like it's really no different than the Nissan and the Kia sign, other than it's quite a bit smaller than those.
Is the existing sign illuminated?
It was. It currently it's not.
The glass, okay.
Yeah. It was originally both signs that were there were originally illuminated.
Okay.
Everything up and down that corridor is illuminated.
Mm-hmm.
This will be softly illuminated. It will have halo lit letters on it. So it's not going to be a blaring bright sign. It'll be a very elegant looking sign.
And will that halo lettering be visible 24 hours in terms of the same degree of lighting for the halo lighting?
The halo lighting only will be visible at night. During the day, it's not, especially on a black background, because the black will absorb the light. But during the day, it has a decent contrast with the chrome polished letters and the bright blue onto the black.
Any other questions from board members? No, I don't have any at the time. Do we have any public comment?
We didn't have any written or public comment.
Is anyone here to speak on, to offer public comment? Yeah.
Did you want to offer public comment for this project?
Okay, should we move to staff notes?
I think the first slide we've generally covered. I don't know if the applicant could speak to a little bit the existing sign that went up on the, just that roof area. So this is an older image. I believe the top roof sign is no longer there, and now there's.
Correct. That top roof sign is no longer there. There was a building sign within compliance that's got a permit and has been put up. That one is on the facade, and it will go with, the look, the theme, the feel of the monument sign that we're putting on there. We're proposing, excuse me.
So I just wanted to note that. So that was approved building permit.
Correct.
Variance is an unlisted action under seekers. We recommend a negative declaration to be issued. And then just going through the 5 standards, the variance is consistent with the character, given the large freestanding signs we've discussed. We note that the BZA has approved a number of area variances for similar or larger requests within the last 2 years or more. Although some of the larger signs we've discussed predate the existing conditions or the existing USGO. We've discussed some of the alternatives considered, given the existing freestanding sign was larger. It does seem to be kind of a middle ground proposal. The request is somewhat substantial, and then it's double the allowable maximum square footage. But again, it is smaller than the existing freestanding sign. I think we've covered the other points as well. So those are the staff notes. We recommend just the issuance of the negative declaration, which I forgot to include on the staff recommendation slide, and then approval of the area.
I'd like to make a motion.
And so for the unlisted action.
Yes.
And it can be for both, so
Okay,
you don't have to do it twice.
perfect, thank you. I move for a negative seeker declaration for area variances 186 and 188.
Second?
Okay, Serena, how do you vote?
Yes.
Paige?
Yes.
Martha, yes. The motion carries. Do we have any other motion?
I move that area variance 186 be approved.
Do we have a second?
Second?
All right, Serena, how do you vote?
Yes.
Paige?
Yes.
Martha, yes. Any other motions?
Second. I move that we grant area variance 188 to allow for a 16.4 foot tall freestanding sign with a maximum permitted is 8 feet.
Second?
Okay, Serena, how do you vote?
Yes.
Paige?
Yes.
Martha, yes. The motion carries.
Thank you so much. I appreciate everybody's time.
Thank you.
Have a good evening.
No
Thank
more
you.
coffee.
Yes.
One more for the road?
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Yeah. And so the next item that we have on the agenda, it's project number 00579, and it's for applications that are before the planning board, development plan review, and a conditional use permit for the Underground Railroad Education Center. And this matter is before us tonight as a request for the Board of Zoning Appeals to consent to the coordinated environmental review of the action where the planning board would be the lead agency. Is there an applicant who speaks to this, or?
Just me.
Okay, great.
So on behalf of the planning board, I provided the documents to the Board of Zoning Appeals. The planning board is the lead agency. I think the 30 days are up like in a couple days. So we could have just kind of let it pass, but I wanted to just bring it to the board's attention. As there may be an area variance request before the board at some point or soon. So I just wanted to bring it to your attention. Essentially, the request is just, that the planning board continues to act as the agency for the environmental review itself. And they're obviously also, reviewing the site plan as well. The portion that would be under your purview would be a potential front yard setback area variance. So this is the site plan as a whole. This is at 194 Livingston. The existing building is here. It's the Underground Railroad Education Center, just a few blocks down the road. And there's a building in between, and then a few vacant parcels, which they are proposing to consolidate. Livingston Ave is on the top of the screen and Third is on the bottom of the screen. They're proposing new construction of the building. The structure would look almost like the new, like a kind of a faux barn, almost like the new rest stop. That kind of style, 2.5-story structure with 2 small apartment units for use by basically like the visiting artists or residents. And the new space, the rear area would be just kind of green spaces. It is now, as it is, it's kind of, there's orchard and just plantings, and then they have geothermal fields. So this is the building footprint. Zoomed in, this old dash line is the property line. And their proposal, this is the glass kind of vestibule area, and these are kind of extended, what I call like the barn wall, which is also kind of the roof. I could show you one way if you're interested. And so this just indicates the setback. They had an approved rezoning, so it's no longer in the RT residential townhome district. It's now in the MUNE district. The front yard maximum is 10 feet unless, or with the caveat that where the subject lot is adjacent to developed lots facing the street and having principal building located within 25 feet of the lot line, required from setback shall be no closer nor further back from the street. The principal building on either of the face lot. So they can basically mimic the adjacent building. With rough estimate, it seems to be that the closest building has approximately a 14-foot setback, and this is an approximately 24-foot setback. So we expect that they would likely need a front yard variance. So that's a give you a long-winded background on the project of why it might be coming before the board. Are there any questions either related to the project itself or the seeker request? They're kind of 2 separate.
Not of consequence.
Okay.
Of curiosity, yes, but.
Yeah.
So do you need us to do a negative secret declaration tonight?
No, so the planning board would have all seeker control. So the motion would be that to consent to the City of Albany Planning Board as lead agency. So you would be like essentially returning that right to the planning board. So there is just a default doc that if you do approve it, Martha will sign. It's just agreeing to the planning board as lead agency. So that would be the motion language.
So I'd like to
Okay.
move.
Yes.
I move that we consent to the City of Albany Planning Board as seeker lead agency for the 194 Livingstone Ave Underground Railroad Education Center project.
Second.
All right. Serena, how do you vote?
Yes.
Paige?
Yes.
Martha, yes. Motion carries. Great. So we consent. We have
Last 2 items. The first one is straightforward. The second one, I did send a very last minute email out, and I provided a hard copy as well. We can pull up visually if you have questions about the revisions made. Happy to discuss if there's any questions on the meeting minutes for July or August.
So the first one is more straightforward, right?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I move that we approve the minutes for the July 3rd, 2024 meeting.
excellent. All right. Serena, how do you vote?
Yes.
Paige? Martha, yes. The minutes are approved. And then the July 3rd, 2024 minutes are approved. And then we have the August 7th, 2024 minutes. And yeah,
Thank you for your memo, by the way. It was very helpful, even though nobody, as far as I know, responded to it. I did read it and I was very impressed and it was very helpful. So thank you for that, council.
Yeah.
Do we want to have a discussion about it? Because he did raise like very strong points about what
Mhm.
we're empowered to do, and some of that did come up in the meeting about like the First Amendment and all of that,
Yeah.
what we could have the First Church do, but this.
So I think also just for full disclosure, the minutes that we are set to approve include 3 conditions for area variance number 187 when the application was voted on August 7th. There were 5 conditions. Now we are at the final decision. We'll have 3 conditions. 2 conditions were removed, which were may infringe on First Amendment rights. So by removing these conditions, we are not harming the applicant. That's why there are 3 conditions.
Yeah, I think that's sufficient. And I could add just, board's empowered to impose such reasonable conditions and restrictions as are directly related to and incidental to proposed use of the property, and must be consistent with zoning ordinance, local law, and of course, federal law, and things like that as well. So removing the conditions just brings it in line with that, makes it compliant with the state statute that actually empowers the board to make these decisions.
Paige, do you have any questions on that? So, I mean, the changes seem understandable, reasonable. I think they strengthen our approval. So I'd like to make a motion. I move that the August 7th, 2024 minutes be approved.
Serena, how do you vote?
Yes.
Paige?
Yep.
And Martha, yes. The minutes from August 7th, 2024 are approved. Do we have any other business? Hearing none. Do we have a motion to adjourn?
I've been talking a lot.
I move that we adjourn.
Second.
Okay, Serena, how do you vote?
Yes.
Paige?
Yes.
Martha, yes. Great. We are adjourned.
Sorry.